There we go. And then lastly, what are your plans after you leave school? And most of you are looking at university. So that is great. You're going to hear a little bit about some other options today. And you can see kind of some different options and decide what you want from there. So why don't we go ahead and take it away?
Great. Thanks, Rosie. So yes, this will be about the application process for school leavers in IT. But so first of all, I'll talk a little bit about IBM and the types of roles that we have available for school leavers, the application process, and most importantly, some hints and tips. But I represent IBM, but this is very similar in lots of other companies. So I hope, even if you might not be interested in IBM, that you'll find this a useful session. Okay, so let's go for the next one. So this is me. I'm Anna Witherington. I work in IBM as a foundation manager. This is me on my holiday last week in Cornwall. We were out walking a lot, and that's my dog Marmite. I've locked him out of the room for this session, so hopefully you won't hear him bark. I've been with IBM for a very long time, over 35 years now. I started as a coder, developer. I've been a tester, project manager, and people manager. The most technical thing I've done is probably write one of IBM's first internet applications. But yeah, lots of different roles. So let's see what we have got next. I think it's just another slide that we can skip over. So IBM, what's IBM? IBM is one of the biggest technology companies in the world. You've just heard from Google, another big one. And we specialize in things like artificial intelligence, quantum computing, blockchain, cloud, and other things. It says here that it's the largest technology employer in the world. I'm not sure, but we have an awful lot of people, 350,000 employees in over 170 countries. Most importantly on this slide is obviously that we invest a lot of money in research and development and created over 9,000 patents in the US alone. You might think that that's nothing to do with you, but we have many early professionals that actually take part and write and have patents filed. So that's an opportunity if that's the type of thing that you like. We're a very big technology company, but there's also a lot of business roles, obviously, at IBM. So the next slide talks about values, I think, if I remember rightly. Yes. So these values, something that we defined ourselves, all of us together in a values jam. And it's something that is very, very dominant at IBM, our values. This client, innovation, and trust and personal responsibility. And that's something that we are very keen on. And why am I telling you this? Well, I think it's important that if you start to look for companies, that you sort of research a bit about the company and what they stand for. So have a look at the values of the company and their website and find out. And for us, it's definitely about clients, innovation, and trust and personal responsibility.
Anna, can I quickly jump in and ask why that is so important to make sure that your values align with the place that you're working?
Yeah, good question, Rosie. I think, applying for roles, it's a two-way thing, isn't it? So we need to, as an employer, find the right candidates for us. But for those who are looking, they need to find a good company that they can relate to. It's really important that the values of that company is something that resonates in themselves. We talk a lot about diversity and inclusion as well, which I'll talk about in a minute. But it's really, really important. And I think that you won't stay in a company where you find the values are not what you believe in yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting you there.
No, that's great. You can interrupt me as much as you like. It's much more interesting when you do. Okay, let's go for the next one then. That's about diversity and inclusion. So IBM has been around for 110 years. So the first women and the first Black employees actually started with a company that was the forerunner to IBM. And then there are lots of other highlights here. I would say IBM's first written equal opportunity policy letter that was written 10 years before the US equal opportunity rights were written, and 15 years before the UK. So, and we include sexual orientation as sort of part of that equal opportunity policy. We did that 25 years before the UK included it in the Equality Act 2010. Okay, and we're very proud to have had a female CEO. She has just retired, and then we abandoned facial recognition technology because we didn't believe in that in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happened next then?
Great.
So different routes. I heard from Rosie that many of you are considering university, which is normally sort of the default option that you hear from your careers advisors. And we do take in graduates and we take in interns during a university placement. So that's normally in the third year at uni. But what we do as well is something that I'm really excited about, is the future scheme. So that is for you who are about to finish school and look for opportunities. And if you don't know whether you want to go into an apprenticeship or go to university, a gap year is an excellent opportunity. So I'll speak a little bit more about the future schemes in a minute, but that's something to consider. And then if you feel you're ready for work, but you want to continue learning, then an IBM apprenticeship is something maybe you want to consider.
Definitely. Just looking at the chat right now, students are participating so much and just sharing about what they would consider and different things that they want to do.
Yeah, and what are they considering? Are they considering gap year or?
A lot of them, yes, are saying, yes, I would consider a gap year. Someone said I'm a little bit indecisive. There's too many things and I don't know what I want to do yet. So that's great that you're in an event like this. This is right where you need to be.
Yeah.
A lot of people just saying they would definitely consider a gap year. But they're not exactly sure what they want to do yet.
And do something, that is actually really worthwhile, and see, if you want to work for a big corporation or, maybe it's not for you, that's also a really good learning experience, learning what's not for you as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just going on to the next slide.
Yeah. Okay. So you heard from Google. I don't know what they offer, but at IBM, we offer a starting salary of 20,000. And it's a 3-year scheme or 4 years for some degree apprentices. I'll speak about degree apprenticeship in a moment. It's a permanent role. So you're there and you will stay after your apprenticeship as well. I know some companies prefer to just offer you a fixed term contract for the apprenticeship, but this is a big investment in you, and we'd love to keep you after that. And the starting salary is 20,000, and we aim to get you up to a graduate salary after the 3 years as an apprenticeship. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for being so transparent too with that. I think it's really valuable for students to kind of know what to expect when going into roles like this.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're
Okay. So in terms of apprenticeships, so we do lots of different types of apprenticeships, and these are some examples. So business roles, we have junior management consultants. They normally work with clients, maybe in a business role, but it could also be a technical role. And then we have the sales consultants, and we do lots of different types of technical roles. And we're actually adding cybersecurity as well. That's an up and coming apprenticeship. And yeah, so junior DevOps, again, a lot of demand for junior DevOps engineers. And then we do degree apprenticeships in technology, business, and design. Okay, and what you need is 5 GCSEs, grade 5 to 9, or C and above, and that needs to include English and maths. Then it's on top of that, it's 2 years of further education or something similar. Okay.
Great.
We don't require any work experience or any technical experience even for the technical roles. It's the passion we're looking for, that you're interested in this. Okay. And the UCAS points is only for the degree apprenticeship. So that's not important for the level 3 or level 4 apprenticeships.
Great. You know, Google said exactly the same thing, that they were looking for the passion more so than the experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
So students, keep that in mind.
Yes, exactly. So think about, what is it that will demonstrate passion in you? How can you demonstrate that passion? And I'll talk a little bit about that later. So
absolutely,
stay tuned on that one.
Here we go.
Okay, so degree apprenticeships. Some of you might want to go to university because you think that's the right thing to do, but then not sure, and combining working and going to university is a mammoth task. It's really tough, but it's really, really rewarding. Okay, so what you do is you work for a company like IBM for 4 days a week, and then you go to uni 1 day a week. But what is also happening is that some of the academic work is based on what you do in your day job. Okay, so it's a good mix, but it's really hard. So you have to be motivated to do this. We have some universities that we partner with, which are really, really good. And we worked with them for quite a while now. Listen up, this is important. IBM will pay for the university course in full. Who doesn't want to get free university and 3 years work experience at the same time as getting paid? So it's definitely something that I wanted my children to do, but none of them did, of course, because I wanted them to do it. Yeah, so I encourage you to have a think about a degree apprenticeship. I've started to look at the comments here. I should stop looking at them.
Oh, I know. There's a lot, aren't there?
Yeah, no, it's great comments here.
Definitely.
Okay, so if you apply for a degree apprenticeship, you just apply straight to IBM, and then we will organize with the university directly. So it's not through UCAS. Okay.
Definitely.
So which universities? There are some Exeter, and we started to do one northeastern in London for the degree, for the technical ones, and then we do Pearson, who's now going to move to Kent University for the business one, and we do MMU up in Manchester for design, business and technical. And the university that you would go to would be the one that is most convenient. So for example, if you live and work in Manchester, MMU will be the choice, but otherwise it's likely to be, and we do Winchester as well. So it's likely to be one that is nearer to you. But all the universities, they have sort of online training, apart from the one in London, where you go into uni 1 day a week. But obviously, in the last year and a bit, they've got used to doing online training as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So the future, oops.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yes, I talked about, I just saw the question there, so I thought I'll respond to that one. The future scheme, so it's very similar to the apprenticeship in terms of what you need. So it's 5 GCSEs and 2 years further education or equivalent. Okay. And these roles are exactly the same roles as the university placement students do. So even after 2 years at uni, they come in and do the same roles. And they're in business, design, and technical. The majority of the roles we have are in business, because it's easier to get into, but we encourage everyone to be technical, obviously, at IBM.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so that was it. So why IBM? Well, we think it's a great company. Obviously, we have so many different communities. We've got Eagle. I'm going to move this one so I can see what it says here. Eagle, which is the LGBT plus team. We've got BAME, who have got very engaged recently, especially in the recruitment side. We got people with diverse abilities. So we changed the disabled group to diverse abilities. And we've got various local groups and sports teams and whatever. And obviously we focus on you and your professional and personal development. So you'll have a task manager who will look after you from a day-to-day task point of view. And then you have someone like myself, a foundation manager, who's there to support your development and sort of be that independent support that you definitely need when you're starting out. Okay.
Great.
So more, yeah, we do a lot of give back in the community. It's especially in the early professional community, in the early professional teams. I would have had some with me today if I'd known, but we also visit schools and we work with lots of different projects around the country. You will get your own laptop, of course, and if you need, you'll get a mobile phone as well. There's lots of opportunities to travel to different IBM locations or to client sites, and many of the roles we actually need you to be mobile, and we say, you know, you can be based wherever, but you need to go and work maybe 2 or 3 days a week at the client site, and we would pay for all the expenses to travel there and stay in a hotel. I know that's quite popular in early on in your career, before you have dogs and whatever it is you need to look after. Okay. The last one. There's IBM rewards as well, but that's not so important. I think the travel is more important, isn't it? Right. So what's the next one?
This. And then if you want me to jump, the next one is a visual of the application process.
Yeah. So the application process. So it looks like there's lots of hoops to jump through. We have actually removed one hoop, but we've asked our early professionals, and obviously the ones that are in the company, they think it's about right, you know. So the first thing you do is you fill in an online application form. It just your contact details and that you're eligible to work in the country. Then you do an online test, and I'll speak more about that in a minute. So this is just a process, and then I'll go through the different stages in more detail in a minute. After the test, if you pass that, you will have to fill in a competency-based application form. Again, I'll speak to that in a minute, but it's much more comprehensive than the first application form, which is just about you and how to get hold of you. Then your application form comes to someone like myself, and I will look at it and say whether I think it's good enough to then invite you to an exploration session. So an exploration session, we've changed it. Some companies call it assessment center, but we've called it exploration session because it's a two-way thing. You know, it's between, you know, you need to like us as well as us liking you. So definitely. And then after that, you will also have other business interviews to see where in the company that you will go to. Okay. Okay. So the online application form, as I said, it's really simple, 5 to 10 minutes. It's just to say that you want to apply, and you can apply because you've got the prerequisites. The last point there is really, really important, that be quick. Some of the roles we've closed within 12 hours.
Oh.
Okay, so I'll give you some hints on how to make sure that you can be there in the first 12 hours. But that is really important to be quick when we open, because when we reached a certain number, dependent on the demand, we'll close the role. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I said I would talk more about the online test. So this is the cognitive ability test. All right. This is probably where we filter out a lot of candidates. So be prepared. I think it's probably not on this slide, but what I would say is Google cognitive tests online and practice again, because you get better at it. And so do between 5 and 6, whatever you feel is the right number for you, but do practice. And when you have to do it, find somewhere quiet where you can do it, because when the test starts, you have to continue, you finish in that same session. Okay. And it's time limited as well. Don't get stressed about that. You won't be able to complete everything. Just do one thing at a time. And if you get stuck, move on to the next one. Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We have a few questions actually in the chat I see about these. Someone wants to know, are these hard? This is required for the application process too, right?
Yeah. So this is, so the first application form, when you filled in the quick one, you get invited to do this test.
Great. Perfect. Thank you. Here we go.
Okay. So relax, you've passed the cognitive test. Now you have to do some writing. Okay. So now it's the online application form. So we're going to ask you competency-based questions. So it will be something about, give an example of when you demonstrated good communication. Okay. And I'll talk more about how you can answer that in a minute as well. Okay. So what we're saying is think about a lot of different situations. So don't take, if you've got a weekend job at Tesco, don't take all your examples from that. Take it from anywhere, really. If you're helping your grandmother with something, that might be a good example, or whatever. We want to find out about you as a person, not just you as a Tesco worker or whatever it is. Okay, so
definitely
choose a wide variety. And then, we talked about that passion. And it's about understanding what IBM or whatever company that you apply to, what they do. Do your research. It will definitely help. And then another thing is the word count. So we say 300 words. So if your response is like 15 to 20 words, you probably haven't told us enough. We think that this answer would be about 300 words. Try to, maybe you don't need to go exactly to 300, but make sure that you utilize all those words. Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
And then spell check, because I know you're all used to having, spell checker with a little red line, and I get that all the time because I can't spell. But in the application tool, it's not going to show up. All right. So what I would do if I applied for a job, I would write it in sort of a word processing document and spell check it and get someone else to read it as well if English is not your first language, or you're not that confident about your own writing.
Definitely.
Okay. So that was all there. Okay, so exploration sessions. So that's as I said, it's a two-way thing. You like us, we like you. That's a good match. So it's all online now. And I think it will continue to be online for the foreseeable future, because it takes a lot of your time and a lot of our time for us all to be in the same location. We have to invite you down to Winchester, where we have most of our exploration sessions, and they're all online. And a week before you go on to this exploration session, we have a test the tech session. So try to do it as low tech as possible so everyone can be included. And we've had people phoning in, using their mobile phones, and it works absolutely fine if you haven't got a laptop. So there will be along 12 other candidates or 11 other candidates with you, but you will be working in a group exercise with 5 other people, and it will be things like you discuss something, and it might be a little bit of problem solving in there as well. And I'll talk more about some hints and tips on this one as well. Okay, and finally, in the exploration session, you will have a pre-prepared presentation, and then someone like myself will just ask you some more questions. So it's relatively easy. You can prepare for most of that interview in advance. Okay, and then you might also have a business interview on the day.
Great.
Okay. So what do we look for? What are the things that you need to think about when you prepare for an exploration session, or even when you start to look at your application form? So it's resilience, for example. Tell me about an example where you sort of had to overcome something difficult. What did you do? How did you do it? Creative problem solving. Adaptability, you had to move to another city and or another country in Rosie's case. How did you do that?
Oh, sorry, are you asking me?
No.
Oh, okay.
I guess it's not the only country that you moved to. So and then teamwork, absolutely so important, that you can work with other people and communicate well with them. A bit of passion we talked about, and I can't stress enough that you really need to show that you're interested, because if you're not interested, why should we bother? But of course, you will demonstrate a lot of passion after this session. And client focus, you might not have worked for a client, but you've always had someone that you've sort of supported. I said your grandmother before, that could be someone that, just think about someone from their point of view rather than from your own personal point of view. That's the type of thing. And a bit of drive. Okay, that's what we're looking for.
Great.
Okay, some hints and tips. So we talked about this before. Understand what we do, show the passion, understand the competencies. Well, you have them in the application form, so you know about that. And just think about, 2 examples of each of those competencies that we ask for in the application form. So you don't just answer with this, if I ask about communication and you already told me about something that you presented in front of your class or whatever, don't use that as the example again. So always have a couple of examples for each of the competencies that I've just mentioned. Okay, and it could be from lots of different areas. Okay, have questions for me, as the interviewer. That's really interesting. Okay, not a long list of 10, 15 questions. 1 or 2 is enough. Yeah. And then most of all, be yourself. Okay.
Just to go back to that question 1, when I was in university, that was one of the most important things that they said you can take to an interview is you'll always be asked if you have questions at the end, and you should always have a couple of questions prepared.
Yeah, Yeah, it that shows interest, a little bit of passion. You've done your homework. I mean, it could be as simple as tell me about your career and, you know, why are you with IBM or whatever. It could be something quite simple.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it just shows that you've done the research and that you're really interested.
And it gives you a good insight into what it's like to work for that company. You know, why have I been with IBM for 35 years? You know?
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay. So I talked about the competency-based questions, and we're nearly at the end. So we've got some time for questions. STAR method, if you don't know it, Google it. Make sure that you have a story around your answer, okay? So what was the situation? Well, you all went out for a hike with school, and you had to navigate from point A to B. So you had a map, but you got lost. What actions did you take? And what did that result in? Okay. Don't give that example because I've had that example so many times. So that was the first one I thought about. A lot of Duke of Edinburgh getting lost in the woods. Okay, so that's the type of way to answer it, and you can do it even better by doing star R, and that's reflection as well. So what would you do differently next time? You know, maybe learn to read the map or whatever in this example.
Definitely.
Okay, so what's the next? Some hints and tips. I finished with this. So how are you being perceived? Are you the chatty one? Are you the quiet one? Are you the one chewing gum? You know, think about, you know, what are you wearing? You know, at the moment, we can only see this much. I mean, I might be wearing my pajama bottoms, but, you know, while we're online like this, it's okay. Encourage other people to take part in the group exercise. It's not about quantity, it's about quality of what you say in a group exercise. All right, and make sure that you include others. So what do you think, Rosie? You know, if Rosie's been quiet, you know, bring her into the discussion. Okay.
Definitely.
Be the timekeeper, but if you volunteer to be the timekeeper, make sure you do it as well. Okay, and find that consensus, you know, get an agreement in the team. Okay, so that's probably
Great.
I was going to give you hints and tips. And if you're interested after this, please register on our website. You can find it if you just search School Leaver and IBM on Google or whatever search engine you use. But and then register your interest. And we normally open the future roles in sort of September for starting in June, July, August the next year. But we also open during the National Apprenticeship Week, which is normally the first week of February. Okay, and that's when we open our apprenticeship roles as well.
Great.
And that could be for more or less an immediate start.
Yeah, so students definitely make sure to keep up to date because like Anna said earlier, some roles can be filled in a matter of a day or a few days.
Yeah. So register your interest, and when you'll then get an email from the IBM recruitment team and to tell you when we're about to open, and be there at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So Anna, we do have quite a few questions here, and students, if you have any more questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. Not even sure if we'll get through all of these, but we'll do our best to get through as many as we can. Someone is curious, does IBM offer support regarding mental health, as it has become quite a big issue due to COVID-19?
Yeah. So we, all the foundation managers are mental health first aiders, first of all. But there are also other groups. So I spoke about communities. We've got a community called Pacify, which talks about lots of different areas that affects people, and that it's all run by the early professionals. So it's early professionals supporting early professionals. It's a really nice thing. And we've also got other organizations that can help with mental health. But yes, definitely got even more now. But one thing that we have seen in terms of supporting mental health now is getting involved in the different communities. That's also helped a lot, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Someone else is curious, do all IBM jobs and careers center on computer science, or are there jobs based in fields such as maths or physics or business?
There's so many different roles. Sorry if that wasn't something
No worries.
But yeah, no, we've got business roles, we've got HR, we've got finance roles, we've got design roles, we've got technical roles, we've got really technical roles, and then we've got sort of those who wants to do the business and technical together, which is, you know, something that we see more and more of. You know, if you're going to be like a consultant or something like that, you need to know both the business and the technology nowadays.
Definitely. So we have someone asking for an example of the type of question that you would ask in an interview. So kind of, does this have to be a super generic or super specific to IBM as well? And can you maybe give an example of one that you would think would be a good one?
But my best question is probably not something that is sort of relevant to you, because I always ask, tell me something more about you that you haven't told me already in the application form or during the interview. So that's my favorite question. But tell me about a difficult situation that you've had and how you resolved that. You know, that's probably one of the questions that you get asked.
So it doesn't necessarily need to be specific to IBM, but something thoughtful, basically, is what you're looking for.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there could be some questions about IBM, like, why have you chosen IBM? That's probably something, you know, why did you apply to IBM?
Cool.
Definitely.
Something. Apologies. So we have a few questions on kind of what the culture is like at IBM. How would you describe it? And then is it kind of a social environment? Is it more, I know working from home has probably changed that a lot too.
Yeah, but it is really social, and we are very social online as well. All the communities are thriving this year. It's even more happening because we can, you know, meet without having to travel across the country, and you know, we just and we all know we need more social interaction. So there is a lot of social. The reason why I've stayed with IBM for 35 years is because of the people. It's such a lovely camaraderie, and you know, I could call up the CEO if I needed, or send him a message, and he would respond. So you know, yeah, very flat organization, and yeah.
And it's so important to work with people that, you know, are like-minded and that you work well with.
Yeah.
at companies that want to have their employees engaged as well.
Mm.
So someone else is curious, what do you think are the most exciting developments at IBM?
Wow. Apart from putting a man on the moon and the barcode, and yeah, it's a difficult question. So is that the current most exciting thing? I think to me it would be artificial intelligence and how we use artificial intelligence in medicine. You know, so for example, to treat cancer patients, there are so many different ways to treat cancers, and with this artificial intelligence, you could see the best results given the circumstances.
Yeah, definitely. That's really interesting. So just being conscious of time, why don't we do one more question again, students? Thank you so much for your participation today. There have been tons of great questions. Someone wants to know, how has the pandemic affected the company?
Yeah, not a lot. I mean, what happened was, obviously we had to respond to our clients, but 98% at least of us, we just, you know, set up office at home. That was all right, because we're so used to working online anyway. But what we had to do was to respond to our clients and how they suddenly changed their demand. So a lot of retail companies, they needed to go online because that was the only way that they could sell anything. And lots of things, and IBM has helped with the test and trace system and research with Oxford and AstraZeneca. So lots of different ways.
Wow.
We changed, but and we do all our training online now. So we will, you know, our early professionals are not missing out more than being able to hug each other at the moment.
Yeah. So a lot has changed, but not necessarily for the worst.
No. And I think going back to whatever's going to be the normal, it will be hybrid, because we have learned so much, and there's so many positive things about working online, as well as, you know, things that we miss.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, Anna, thank you so much for being here today and giving a great presentation, answering these questions. Students, thank you for your participation. You've been absolutely great. Oh, someone said thank you in Sweden.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's great. Students, thank you so much. Please do go ahead and check out IBM from these QR codes and look into their programs, because this is really an exciting thing that you could be a part of. So thank you so much, students. Again, thank you for staying on, and we'll be in contact tomorrow with all of your general certificates, and as well with those 3 winning people. So thanks again.
Fingers crossed. Or in Sweden,
it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a difficult decision.
I'm sure they've been so active, and I got so distracted.
No worries. Thank you so much, students.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Have a great one.
And you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.